Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie. They had us. We weren't defeated, but they had us. But it took guts, it took an attitude. That's all it takes.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Grim, and I'm bringing you a brand new review for House of the Dragon. Last time we left off on the show, we had the giant reveal by the king saying, "Screw all your advice, I'm gonna marry the chick who's been nice to me for like the past, I don't know, 2 episodes. Who just so happens to be a friend of my daughter's." Yeah, that was a interesting decision he made. So episode 3 isn't a direct continuation as you might expect. As I believe I don't know if the show stated it, they might have. Like I said, I've made this clear. I wasn't following the show too closely, so I'm not totally aware. But this episode does take place 2 years following the end of the second episode. So 2 years have passed, and all of a sudden, we have a giant, how shall we say, crisis, or boiling under the surface problem, right? The king has a son now, right? He has a son now with his friend's daughter, right? And she's, I believe, pregnant with yet another child, so that's wow. Anyway, and so as you can imagine, this created some tension in the let's just say in the Red Keep between the king and his daughter about what's going to happen, and also a lot of his, how shall we say, advisors are kind of like, hey, you're gonna follow our tradition. You're gonna make your son the ruler, right? You're gonna make him your heir, correct? You're gonna stop with this mess of making your daughter the first woman to sit on the Iron Throne, right? Well, let's just say that was the giant point of the episode, is to show the tension boiling underneath, and to show the thoughts of both the daughter and the king on how they're feeling about this whole situation. And the hilarious part to me is the king still remains firm on his stance of, my daughter is going to become, the next ruler of the next ruler to sit on the Iron Throne. And his daughter feels like she's going to be replaced by her younger brother, or half brother, I should say. So as you can see, it clashes in ways you might expect, as arguments tend to break out, or there's a couple of stern conversations between. No, they're arguments. Let me say it. They're kind of arguments between the king and his daughter. Rhaenyra, I believe her name is, and Viserys is his name. Let's just go with that. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Viserys, the guy is literally feels like he is being, you know, strangled by everyone around him, right? While, Rhaenyra is trying her best to kind of be respectful and kind of not lose her shit. So, you have this conflict that's breaking out between the two, and it does get somewhat not resolved, but there's like the tensions come down, as there's almost well, I should say what led to that argument is the king, Viserys, for some reason, knowing his daughter very well, decided to pick her husband, who happened to be Jason Lannister, if I remember his name correctly. She didn't appreciate this, and so she ran away, killed a boar with one of the King's Guard, a guy she picked from episode 1, if I remember correctly. Brought it back. And so, like I said, the whole first half, I should say this, the first half of the episode is based around the whole what's going to happen with the situation involving the Iron Throne. And I thought, okay, this seems interesting enough. Now, you might expect, well, what about the other half of the episode? Well, at the end of episode 2, there was a conversation between Daemon and Lord Corlys, who is the fleet master, or at the very least, his ship is the most powerful in terms of having naval forces on the continent. So, you might say, well, what about them? Well, they decided to take the fight to the crab people. I'm trying to remember their name exactly. The crab eaters. I don't remember their name exactly. Forgive me. Please correct me in the comments. I'm trying to remember their name. However, these people have been attacking the shipping lanes for the crown. And as you can imagine, Corlys is not exactly very happy about it. And so he got Daemon to help him out with the situation. And let me say this much. This has been a 2-year campaign, and it has failed miserably from what was said to the king. So, because again, in the very first couple minutes of the episode, a messenger literally is telling the king, "Hey, this shit is going really bad. Please help them out." And the king's like, "Nah, I can wait." Mostly because Daemon and the Corlys decided to start this shit without any approval from the crown. So yeah. That, as you can imagine, did not go very well. And so, as I said, you got your first decent, pretty big battle of the series, and it was rather entertaining. Now, I have to make a comment. The CGI for like the later half with the arrows, if for those of you who watch the episode and know what I'm talking about, the arrows look. There were some scenes when Daemon was running and you know exactly what was happening in that scene. The arrows looked a little rough around the edges. You can tell. That's all I'm gonna say. So that was a little, but I understand why it was might have been a little rough because of all the CGI in that scene. Well, or rather, how should I say, intensive. The CGI that was used, how intensive it was for some of the, the dragons and all this other stuff. So again, I will leave it there. So we had that whole fight scene. Now here's the thing. This is the one thing that kind of was a little disappointing was they made it made a big deal about these folks, about these raiders who were screwing up the shipping lane, and they were torn apart, or they had been tearing apart Lord Corlys and Daemon's forces for 2 years. My thing is, they made a big deal about the leader of the group of these raiders in the steppes. They had made a big deal about them. And there was even the infamous character where they look, man, that was a rough looking character. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Who was horribly disfigured, looked like they were burned in like numerous places. Giant clumps of their hair was gone, right? And you could tell one of their eyes is just like almost probably grayed out. And you even have like them wearing a mask or something. They almost made it seem like this character was supposed to be important. Then the ending came and you went, oh, that was it? Oh, okay. So that was a little disappointing. That was kind of a little disappointing part about the battle where that individual never said a word. Maybe they were unable to speak. So I don't know. Maybe, if I get to that part in the book, as I am reading Fire and Blood, maybe I will get to that part and maybe there's more to the character there. Or maybe that's it. So we don't know. But overall, as an episode, I thought it was fairly solid from beginning to end. It touched on it had the issues revolving between Rhaenyra and Viserys and their whole relationship and how they're trying to keep it together to the best of their ability, right? One's the king and he has this responsibility. They even have a conversation about marriage and about how even he is not above that, where even he has to take a spouse, right? And he even does the biggest thing, which I think is the most a father can do for a daughter, especially of nobility in this type of era, which he basically told his daughter, pick whoever you want. Find that man that you want as your husband. Search him out. Find him. I don't care. And that kind of freedom to choose for yourself is something that is almost, you don't see it very often in this type of setting. Look at Rhaenyra's friend. She didn't get to choose. She wasn't even considered in the beginning as an option until the king said, I want her as my new wife. So again, it's definitely a giant, how shall we say, he gave her a gift, an opportunity that many do not get. And so when we look at this episode as a whole, I thought it was really, really good. I thought it did everything it needed to. It set up Daemon and like I said, Daemon had a very interesting reaction to a message from his brother, right? And how that will probably play into later events in the show. You have Rhaenyra and Viserys. For now, I'm going to assume holding it together and keeping their relationship for the most part on a good note. I could be wrong. But as you can see, there is a growing issue about succession. And I think this is only going to get worse as the years pass along. Because if I remember correctly, there's supposed to be more time skips as the show progresses. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've said everything I needed to say about this show. I thought it was fantastic. Well, not fantastic. I thought it was really good. That's the appropriate description for it. It was a really good episode. It was two good halves, right? You had the drama and the politicking, as the king would say in the episode, that you know is going to lead to more trouble down the road if he continues down this path he's going. And you also have Daemon doing his own thing, and you also had like I said, the first little major battle of the show. And we all know this is probably not going to be the last time we see conflict on Westeros. It's probably going to get really bad, especially if Rhaenyra really does take the Iron Throne, and if she does become the new ruler of Westeros. That, I believe, is when all hell is going to break loose. I could be wrong, but we're going to see. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on the newest episode for House of the Dragon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Leave a like, please subscribe, because we definitely have more stuff coming up. And subscribe if you want to see more reviews of the House of the Dragon. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Grim, and I'll see you guys next time.